Welcome to Mart's Garage.
Hello. Look, there's a Ford pop fuel gauge. There's a old-fashioned battery charger on 6 volts. Here's a sender. Watch, if I've tried for ages to get it working, and in the end I reversed the terminals. So when that's empty, that reads 0. Then when that's full, that reads full. But that certainly works now. Lovely, look, it's just great, that's great. Full. Empty. It doesn't quite go to 0. Oh, it does. Yeah, that goes to 0. That's brilliant, isn't it? Great. Okay, so what happens when you disconnect? Okay, so let me substitute the other gauge, this one, make sure this one works with the same connections. Okay, back in a bit. Hello. I've had a very frustrating day, but now I'm getting somewhere. See this? That's on empty, look, and that's on empty. That's a little bit up from empty. You see it there, look? And I'll move it up a bit more. So that's a bit more, look. And I'll move it a bit more. There, look, and I'll kind of do it a long shot. It's a bit off. I've got this little 12 volt unit that I salvaged from a skip. It says 12 volts in, 5 volts out. So, and I've got it running off a 12 volt battery, because what I found was that trying to run a little makeshift voltage regulator from a, can you see it now? I'm doing it now. Trying to run a makeshift voltage regulator off an old-fashioned battery charger doesn't particularly work very well, but this appears to be working okay. It's working on 5 volts. So what I think I'm going to do is rig this up in the car as the power supply for the for this fuel gauge, and I'm hoping that the sender unit in the car works exactly the same as this one. If it doesn't, I'm in trouble. But it looks very familiar, so it looks very similar, but that's working well. You'll also notice there's no damping on these old-fashioned gauges. Okay, so that's a success. So what happens if I undo that? Oh, it goes to full. Okay. That's a clue then, isn't it? So if you find that you put the ignition on, it goes full, it means there's a fault in the line to the sender unit, in the wire to the sender unit. Okay. Good. Full, empty. When I hook this sender unit up to another gauge, another type of gauge, it read opposite. Okay, that's good. We'll call that a success then. So I think I'm getting somewhere. Righto, I will be back in a bit. Hello, I'm under my coupe. there's the petrol tank. Oh, looks okay. Looks a bit crusty here. Okay, oh, we've got brown and red there. That's the rear lights that side. So I'm trying to work out where my wiring goes. So there's brown and red, and I've got brown and red there for this side. So the reds go to red, brown goes to brown, and that brown goes to green. So green and brown are the indicators. Green and brown are the brake light filaments and indicators. Red is the rear lights. Now I've got two wires coming down here, a green one and a brown one. Ah, hang on. Yeah, green one and a brown one. And that brown one goes to this black wire. That green one goes to the black wire, and the black wire runs along the car. So now, is the green wire the tank sender, or is the green wire an earth, and that is earthed somewhere? And that one there is the tank sender, or is that an earth potentially? And so is this the sender and that's an earth, or is this an earth and that's the sender where it hasn't got a wire? Down here is the sender. What does that tell me? See, what colour is that wire there? It's green, isn't it? That wire is green. If I can get this to focus there's definitely a green wire, and the brown wire is earth. So the green wire is the sender, and that goes to this black wire which runs down the car. So I need to trace that. So we've just got 4 wires, haven't I, running back? 4 wires. Two brake light filaments, rear lights, and the tank sender. And the black is the tank sender. So there's my wires coming from the back of the car. And there's another wire there now. So there's more than one black wire. Okay. So they go up there, across there, and I think they'd come up and in here. I think so. So put a connector on the end of that black wire and hook that up to the fuel gauge, see what happens. Righto, I located the wire. It wasn't that one that I thought it was. This is the wire. So I just made it long enough to come up through here. Cut it off long enough it was all tucked up behind the insulation. So that's the black wire that comes from the petrol tank. Here's my gauge that I'm going to temporarily fit in that position there. That's got a wire on it that will come from that power supply. This will kind of just clamp it in that bottom corner and earth it. I've got a position just behind here where I can earth it. In case, so that's like a little earth link there. So let's get that screwed in, and I can't really show you me screwing it in because you know, well, it's pretty simple stuff, isn't it? So let's just get that screwed in then and see what happens. Hello. Right, I have a seriously jury-rigged set up here. I don't know what happened there. Looks like it's been oh dear. Okay, so I've got this, and behind there is my little 12 volt to 5 volt unit, and that's plugged in there. This is powering off a lead that I put in when I was trying to power it off a homemade voltage regulator that's ignition fed. And then that's earth there for this. But now look, when I put the ignition on here, watch the fuel gauge. Bang, just less than half a tank. But yeah, look, I'm rocking the car, splashing the fuel, look, and it's moving the gauge. That's good, isn't it? It's a bit of a live and direct reading. Sloshing the fuel around, look. Cool, how cool is that? Hey, it works, that's brilliant, that's brilliant. So all the troubles I had earlier were due to, you know, a not very good power supply. That appears to be a good power supply. I might take it apart and see exactly how it's made and make another one for the 32. But that's great, isn't it? Look, because bang, now I've got a working fuel gauge. Okay, it's not particularly pretty, but, and what I'll do, I'll take the car, probably not now because it's a little bit late, but I'll take the car and get some fuel in it and, you know, see that it goes up rather than down, because without taking the sender out of the tank, you know, moving it physically, I can't say how, you know, how good it is. I suppose I could drain some out of the tank, couldn't I? I could siphon some out of the tank. That's great though, isn't it? I'm really pleased with that. I've been working all day on this and struggled and struggled and struggled, and in the end I thought, well, I went round to my mate Jeff's and borrowed a 6 volt motorbike battery and then powered up the system using that 6 volt battery, and everything worked. And then I remembered that I'd got this 5 volt supply here, so I tested it with that and it worked. My homemade, it would appear that my homemade voltage supply things powered from that old-fashioned battery charger aren't good enough. An old-fashioned supply powered by the car battery might be good enough. Yes, it might be good enough. It's hard to say. But it didn't seem to work when I tried it in the car. So that needs a bit more development, doesn't it? Everything I do is just development work, really, which is what I've done all my life. Okay, righto, that's a little bit of success there. Click, click. Great, so I can leave that for now because it's got quite late now. I can go and do something else, and I will then look to how to streamline all the wiring. I mean, this just needs 12 volts, so this could be wired directly in, couldn't it? I could just wire that directly in. It's just you know, 12 volts and an earth, isn't it? That's all that is. It's just that was what was on it, so that's what I used quickly, and it was handy because I could connect it with crocodile clips. Okay, righto, you take care and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Here's my little power supply. I've shortened the wires. The earth wire in there, the earth wire there is just cut short there. That's the power going in. That's an earth that goes on there. That's my power coming out, which hopefully is just long enough to reach the gauge. And what I did, I drilled and put little screws and nuts on and fixed the bracket to the back plate. I couldn't go through there because it's right by the live terminals. If I'd have used self-tappers, for instance, they would have gone straight through. So I used little screws and cut them off short. Don't need to show you those. Screws and nuts, 4mm. So this will mount behind the dash, and hopefully it should work if I haven't ballsed it up. Okay, let's see how it goes. Hello, I'm back in the car. There's my gauge screwed in there. It's not screwed through the metal, it's screwed like through this gap on that side. It's, you know, firmly attached. I cut back all the wires on that little adapter box. I'll put the camera through the gap so you can see. Oops. I'll put the camera through the gap there so you can see it. When I put the ignition on, I don't know if you can see the light that comes on, but there's a little light that comes on. But I've shortened all the wires back. It's a real rat's nest of wires behind there, but now you can see that. Now you can see. Boing. Ready? Boing. That's perfect, isn't it? Just what you want. So the only unknown thing is, does it work the right way around? I hope it does. I trust it does. I trust it does because it looks really similar to the Ford Pop one that I know works the right way around. It looks so similar, it could almost be, except that one's got 6 bolts and one's got 5 bolts, 4 of which are on the same 6-bolt circle. They're identical. So all in all, a job well done. Click, boing. Can't stop playing with it. Righto. Hello. Right, I've got a siphon going here, and I've took, this can had about that much in, and it's probably up to about there now. So probably took maybe a couple of gallons out. It's not up to the top, but it's coming out very slowly. But I have took enough out to prove the point that the gauge is moving in a downwards direction. So that is reading less. What I think I ought to do is take a lot of fuel out and run it till I run out, and then I will know then how well I can trust the gauge, won't I? I might do that. Okay, back in a bit. Okay, there we go, look. So that's coming out now. Can you see it? Okay, jolly good. I need to get ready to switch that over to the other one quickly. Where's the level on that one? That's about a little way under. Let's have a quick look. I've got a couple of minutes. What you mustn't do is go off and start doing something else and then forget that you're doing it, because it'll end up all flowing out. Oh, okay. Oh, that's reading a lot less now, look. See? That's good, isn't it? Great. Brilliant. Just the result I wanted, that was. Because there was no guarantee that it was going to work. I had a good hunch, but no guarantee. Guess what, there's a big football match tonight. Yeah, this one's stopped because the level of this can, because it's tall, is level with the bottom of the tank, so this one's actually stopped now. Okay. Right, I'll be back in a bit. I wasn't able to draw any more fuel out from siphoning, and so the tank is pretty empty. The motor is running and it isn't drawing air, so there is enough fuel in the tank to run, and the gauge reads empty, actually below empty, so I know I can go to empty on the gauge without running out, but obviously, you know, I'd fill up before that, but at a pinch I can go all the way to empty because it's still running, look, and it's reading on the zero below the actual mark on the gauge. Interestingly though, now can you see how it's not moving because the fuel level isn't there sloshing about? So that's another clue, isn't it? If the gauge doesn't jiggle about with movement, there's no fuel. Okay, right, another little bit of development exercise. Okay, great, that's great that is. I'll put some fuel back in and I'll go and run and I'll put some more in as well. Okay, catch you on the next one. Bye.